07 Commanders, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. My name is Scary Spikes, and today we're going to be taking a look at all of the different Tumbril Cyclone variants, including, but not limited to, the Cyclone, the AA, the MT, the RC, the RN, and the TR. Before we get started though, a huge thank you to all of my wonderful channel members and patrons that help to make videos like these possible. And hey, if you'd like to help me out in a big way, you can do so by following the link in the description down below to become a patron, or click on that blue join button right beside that big red subscribe button under the video to become a channel member right here on YouTube instead, if that is what creams your Twinkie. Either way, thank you so very much for your support. Let's go ahead and get started with the video. We're going to go ahead and start our adventure here at New Deal. This is one of two shipyards available in Star Citizen, or ship dealerships, I should say. This one is available on the main landing zone of Lorville, located on the beautiful planet of Hurston. The other, of course, being at Area 18. We've got the single lonely terminal here. Unlike Area 18, we've only just got the one in here, so it would be nice to get some more CIG if you're listening. But let's go ahead and hold F and left mouse click on the screen to go ahead and get inside. You'll see the ships in these tabs over here, and then their respective manufacturers on the left. Just do note that you do have to scroll your mouse on the left-hand side here in order to be able to see Tumbril Land Systems. That is the manufacturer that makes all of the different Cyclone vehicles that we'll be looking at today. Now, we're not going to be looking at the Nova. That might be for a different day, but what's nice to see is that all of the different variants are available here at Lorville, so a nice central location to buy all of these things if you want to cram them into your C2 or M2 or whatever other transport ship you might be using. And what's also nice to see is that we do have all of these pretty much at the same price, with the exception of the Nova, of course. That is the tank. That is going to be very different. Again, we'll look at that in a different video, but we are going to be looking at all of the main sort of variants here of the Cyclone. So we're going to start off with the main Cyclone. This is actually the heaviest one of the bunch, and then we do have a sort of support / combat focused AA. You're not going to be able to see it here. We'll take this out to aerial so you guys can actually see the models in person with me, but I'm just going to go through them very quickly here so you get an idea of what these are all for. So we've got the AA. This is the anti-air support variant. We've got the RC. This is a nice red one. I really love the color on this, and it's very unique compared to the rest. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but this one is the racing variant. Then we've got the RN. This one is the exploration variant, a little bit of a darker paint scheme here. I do like the color on this one as well. We have the TR that's got a big gun on it. It's kind of like the Warthog from Halo, but in Star Citizen. So that one is more combat focused. And then, of course, we also have another combat focused one in green here. That's also a nice color. I do like that. And that one is a little bit more potent than the TR. It does have the gun, but as well it does have the missiles that the AA version has as well. So quite a bit more potent than both of those. It's basically like if the AA and the TR had a baby. So those are the ones that we're going to be taking a look at. We're going to be purchasing all of these here, and then we're going to be heading out to aerial to have a look at the little intricacies of each one and compare them later on in Urkel.games. A little foreshadowing here. There's not a whole lot to compare other than their roles, but stick with me. Let's go ahead and head over to aerial, get these loaded up, and have a look at them there in more detail. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about here is actually going to be the AA. This is the anti-air variant, and they're going to be largely the same on the inside. So we're going to take a moment to look at the interior of this one, but we're not going to spend so much time on the interior of the others as they're very, very similar. So we can see that we have two MFDs here. We've got a nice little speedo in the middle, a few buttons flanking the really cool looking sort of very thin steering wheel. A little bit of carbon fiber and orange in here as well. The co-pilot, as it were, does have also a couple of MFDs, and then there's a single MFD in the middle with some buttons and switches in the center console. Let's go ahead and step out, though, and have a look at the exterior view really quickly here. Now, one of the easiest ways that you're going to be able to identify this, other than just, the text being over it so you can actually see what model it is simply by just looking at the rear end of this thing, and that pretty much applies to all of the Cyclones, also Giggity, because you're going to be able to see those missile racks there, and they are going to be able to hold 2 missiles each. We'll delve into a little bit more detail once we pull these things up on Urkel.games, but other than that, physically, these are going to be pretty much identical. We've got some nice suspension on there, some nice big grippy wheels, and of course, room for 2 people. So that is going to be the Cyclone AA. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, so moving right along to the TR, this is going to be the main combat-focused Cyclone. You've got a nice big gun on the top of that can be manned by one of your friends. So the crew capacity on this one is actually 3 instead of 2. You can have a passenger and you can have somebody in the rear. Let me show you what that looks like. This is pretty cool. You just walk up to the back and you go to enter turret. That's, of course, with the inner thought system, holding F and left mouse button. Now, unfortunately, we're not able to shoot this thing at the moment because we are inside of a armistice zone. But there you go, hold F, left mouse click on power on, and then all of the turret controls as well, like the turret buttons will work with this since it is considered to be a turret. As you can see there, we are in an armistice zone, so we're not going to be able to fire here. But you can press Q to get into relative mode, and you should also be able to maneuver all the way around. So let's go ahead and see what the maneuverability here is. It's actually not bad. You do have a nice 360 maneuverability, and then you can also go pretty high up as well, which is good. Like, that's almost vertical, which is always really, really nice to see. So definitely a nice versatile vehicle here from Tumbril. And now this is going to be sort of the main combat variant. We do also have the MT, which we're going to be checking out next, which is a bit of a combination of the AA as well as the TR, as you'll see in a minute. But this one's pretty cool. It's one of the lighter ones, actually, surprisingly enough. This one and the MT seem to be the 2 lightest ones. One of the things that I wanted to touch on very quickly as well, as we'll probably get into a little bit more detail at the sort of tail end of the video when we check out Urkel.games and see the stats of these things. This one and the MT do actually have an extra 10% armor bonus for any kind of physical and energy projectiles as well. So that's something important to note if you're going to be getting into a lot of fights and stuff like that. These will probably last a little bit longer, but they're going to be about the same mass. They are a little bit lighter than some of the other ones, but it's not really a big enough mass difference to really talk about it or to write home about, so to speak. And then other than that, and the 10% extra armor for the physical and the energy damage to this thing, there's really not a whole lot that is separating it, again, of course, except for having been weaponized as well when you compare against some of the other non-military versions of the Cyclone. So let's go ahead and move on to the MT. We'll show you that one next. All right, so let's talk about the Cyclone MT. This one is one of the newer ones. It comes in a really cool green and gray colorway. And as you can see, it is a bit of a mashup between the AA and the TR, boasting the missiles, which are loaded this time, 2 apiece on either side, as well as the nice big cannon there, which looks to be a cannon as opposed to a Gatling gun like on the TR. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, inside, it does look a little bit different. Let's go ahead and have a seat just to have a quick look here. It does look a little bit different. We've kind of done away with the orange everywhere. We do still have the orange accents, though, on the MFDs and the screens and everything, which pretty much remain exactly the same from the other models. We do also have some nice orange accents in the seats, but we do also, of course, have the turret that we have access to in the back. Now, this is really nice because you do have access to both missiles and a turret, so you're able to defend yourself quite a lot better than you are independently of each of the other 2 models like the AA and the TR, and this is definitely a nice plus to have. Let's just check the articulation, and it seems to be just as good as on the TR, so very good coverage. Of course, also 360-degree coverage on this as well, so very nice to have that. And honestly, if you're sort of looking for a combat variant of the Cyclone, I would definitely recommend the MT, as for one, it's exactly the same price at the ship shop there, the one in Lorville, the new deal, as all of the other ones. And really, it's offering you a lot more benefit as you have the flexibility of using just the missiles or the cannon, and both if the situation warrants. So it's definitely nice to have, and I'd recommend you pick up at least a couple of these if you're into doing some skirmishes on the ground or want to help protect an area from smaller ships and also protect the ground as well from any dropships. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and look at the OG, the original gangsta. This is the pure and original Cyclone, and we see that the orange is back, but not a whole lot going on with this one. Funny enough, though, and interestingly enough, it's the heaviest one of the bunch of all of the Cyclones that are out there. The base model is the one with the most mass, so very interesting to see that. Everything else is pretty much exactly the same. We do have a slightly different colorway with like a nice cream and sort of like a darker graphite, and I feel like the orange is a bit too much, but then again, it's one of the older models, so you can't really fault it for that. You've still got a crew of 2. You do have a little storage in here, which does look like a sort of like a mini 1 SCU container or something like that that you might be able to put back here. I don't think the game mechanics actually exist to be able to snap anything in here, but you should be able to put some physics-based stuff in here, and hopefully it'll stay in place with this little lip that we've got here. Other than that, we do have an option to open it, so that's pretty cool. You get like a little ramp in here, so you can actually have somebody stand up here if you want, and then just close this behind them. I actually didn't know that this opened like that, so you learn something new every day. But there you go. You have that little ramp there that you can use for something very, very small. Obviously not big enough to carry any other vehicles or anything else, not even any of the smaller bikes that are in the game. But definitely cool little utility vehicle with a little bit of storage and a capacity for 2 crew. And yeah, pretty modest speed as well. It's going to be roughly the same as all of the other military variants. Obviously, the RC, which is one that we still need to talk about, is going to be the fastest one and does have a very unique feature compared to some of its brothers. But this one's pretty cool, and honestly, if you're just looking to get around, this one's a pretty good beater. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about, folks, it's going to be the RN. This is the exploration variant. And I'm starting on the inside of this one just because it's a little bit different than some of the others. We've pretty much got a nice black interior with the entire dashboard just being blacked out. Of course, we've got the typical Tumbril orange highlights inside, but the rest of the vehicle is also blacked out, which is something that I really like. It's a really cool sort of stealthy look to it. You see that we do have a subtle, what looks like to be a two-tone, but basically this is pretty much exactly the same color. If we look towards the back here, we can see that there's not too much going on. We do have what looks like some tow hooks and stuff like that, which we're able to use to basically hook up to things. Hopefully in the future, this is not something that's operational at the moment. Nothing else that you can interact with here, but as you saw earlier on in the video, we do have a nice big dish. Matter of fact, let's see if we can get on top of this thing and show you guys what that looks like. Yeah, we got a nice big dish up here, and what's going to be cool about this is hopefully sometime soon we're going to be able to use this to scan things down on ground level that we might not be able to scan with ships, so we might be able to get sort of a better, clearer view of some of the smaller details of things that some of the larger scanners might not be able to pick up from your ship. So this is definitely going to be very interesting. We got a little bit of writing on here. It looks really cool. I really like this one. It doesn't really serve a purpose other than getting you and a friend around at the moment, but between the looks and the potential future use of this thing, as you guys know, I'm really big into exploration. I love just getting out there into space and wandering around and finding stuff. You guys know the Carrack is my favorite ship in the game. I'm not an exploration ship, so I usually have at least one of these in my Carrack, and I really do love the way that these things look. So that is going to be the RN, and as you guys know, we only have one left, and that's going to be the RC. So let's go ahead and have a look at that one, because that one's a little bit more special than the rest. All right, you guys knew what was coming up at the very end. We had to save the best for last, and this is the RC. This is the racing version, and man, how cool does this black on red look? It looks really, really awesome. I love it. I love the orange accents as always, but this just looks really, really cool. I think one thing that they could have done to make this a little bit more special than all the other ones is just turn all that orange on the seats and everything else into red as well, so it was just pure black and red. But this thing is really, really cool, and it's got one thing and one thing only that it does well, and that is going super, super fast. Now, there's one thing that I want to show you about this thing in just a second, but let's go ahead and take a little tour around it. We do have some tow hooks up at the front, which is pretty cool. Now, if you're looking to get from point A to point B really, really, really quickly, this thing's pretty much going to be the only way to do it. I mean, look at that exhaust. That is absolutely crazy. It's really, really cool design. Look at this on the back. This looks really awesome. Let me see if I can get up here so I can show you guys. We got some sponsors on here as well, the Klaus & Wellner, as well as the Kovalex. Really, really cool. I love that little branding on the top. There it is. We've got some more branding here. It looks like, I believe that's Taurus. What is that? That does look like it is Taurus. Let's see if I can get the sun out of the way. Or Tarsus, rather. I apologize. So Tarsus, Klaus & Wellner, as well as the Kovalex on here, and the paint job as well just looks really, really nice. Now, mind you, this doesn't look super clean. You guys can see that there's a little bit of wear on here, so this thing's been around and just looks really, really awesome. I just really love the design of this thing, and there's a special little trick to this as well that I think a lot of people don't know about, so we're going to show you that off as well. I really do love the tail lamps here as well. The tail lights, they look really cool. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing, and I want to show you guys the little special feature that this thing's got that nothing else does. I'm going to go ahead and press F4 and jump into our outside camera, zoom out a little bit so we can see. So obviously, driving this thing around, it is going to be faster than pretty much all of the other variants. But one thing that's really cool is that we do also have the option for a boost. So if we hit left shift, we're literally just going to take off. It's just so quick, unless of course you run into a light post like me. But the get up and go on it is absolutely crazy, because of course this is a racing variant, so you do have a ton of speed on here, and you can get yourself into all sorts of situations by bouncing off of rocks and stuff like that. But this thing is amazing. It's a lot of fun to drive, and you do have that left shift button that you can press to get a little bit of extra speed if that is what you're looking for. So definitely a lot of fun. Let me see if I can hit this ramp.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god. Too much speed. All right, everybody. Well, after that embarrassment, let's go ahead and move right along to Urkel.games. Let this be a lesson to everybody. If you're going out for a Sunday drive with me, just make sure I'm in the passenger seat and not the one driving. Otherwise, you're going to run into some problems. But I digress. Let's go ahead and move on to Urkel.games. We're going to look at all of the different models that we looked at earlier. And this is just to kind of show you guys a little bit about what I was talking about before. We've got all of the main models here. So the main one, the Cyclone AAA, the MT, the RC, the RN, and the TR. And of course, as you can see, that we have this one is a transporter, so that's it, like your basic kind of get around town vehicle. Then you've got a support vehicle here. This really should say combat, but I understand why it's support. It's anti-air support, so it should be maybe support / combat. Let me know what you think in the comments there, but that's a pretty good one too. And of course, we've got the combat-oriented MT, which is a mashup of the AA and the TR. That one is, of course, labeled as combat as well. And then we've got the RN, that is the exploration variant, and of course our racing variant, the RC. Now, as you can see, as we scroll along here, you can go ahead and pause the video if you want to stop at any of this. I will leave a link to all of these in the description below as well, so if you want to check out any of these. As you can see here, though, we do have some of the really only differences between the MT, the TR, and the rest of the models, in that we do have a little extra armor in terms of armor versus energy and versus physical damage. So 10% on each of those here on the TR and the MT respectively. Other than that, really not a whole big difference between all of them. We can see that they're all pretty much exactly the same HP. The mass is going to be a little bit different. As I said before, the original Cyclone is going to be the heaviest one out of all of them, which is kind of weird, because you would think that stuff like, you know, bullets or ammunition would weigh something, or at least the weapons like the missiles or the launchers or the guns themselves would weigh something. But apparently the military variants, like the MT and the TR, the combat variants, I should say, have probably been stripped down in other areas to make them a little bit lighter and more mil-spec, so to speak. So very interesting to see the stats. Of course, as we talked about, the prices are all going to be the same, which is really nice. The Cyclone MT, specifically the newest of the bunch, was available at the time that when it released. I think it was around 314, and it was LTI, I believe, for about 75 bucks. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 70 or 75 bucks, something like that. And still occasionally available on the website for that same price. So if you want to pay, you know, under 30,000 UEC to get that instead in the game, I would definitely recommend for you to do that. Same can be said for all of these models. But that is going to conclude this video. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. I hope that you found the video interesting and maybe a little funny towards the end, but we're not going to talk about that. If you did find the video helpful or enjoyable, though, please do let me and YouTube know. by simply smashing the like button if you haven't done that already, and becoming a subscriber with notifications turned on, as I do publish videos weekly. That really does help the channel a lot. Of course, if you do want to go above and beyond, you can do what some of my wonderful and amazing patrons and YouTube channel members have already done, and that is become a patron yourself by using the link down in the description below. There's a lot of cool benefits for you there, including ad-free versions of my videos that you can download and watch anytime, which is awesome. And of course, if you prefer, you can also, or instead rather, become a channel member right here on YouTube. There's a blue join button down below the video right next to that subscribe button. So thank you again so much for watching. I hope you found it enjoyable, and I hope to see you in the next video.